Hey guys, it's Josh. This week the topic is binding and techniques and what's worked and what hasn't worked. Um, what I had always used in the past before surgery to bind was just a regular Underworks binder. That seemed to work the best for me. The I think it's model 997. The sorry, that's a sweet car over there. Can you see that? It's a nice car. The model 997. Um, Usually I would buy it a size smaller than my shirt, so that way it had best compression. I was big chested before surgery. I was a J cup. So what I would do is take the tissue or whatever and kind of separate and put them to the side. So you would be separating them and pushing them in their own individual direction. That helps. Kind of, I guess the best way to put it would be to try to act like you're putting your nipple in your armpit, in each respective armpit, and that way that'll create a flatter front chest and allow the binder to compress more. Some of the really important things to remember when binding is to not bind too tight. You need to make sure that when you get a new binder or you're trying a new binding technique, that you can breathe freely and uninhibited. Also, that you can go ahead and bend down freely without too much constriction. You can sit comfortably. A lot of people try to bind, the tighter the better, and have multiple techniques for binding, and they use multiple ways to bind at the same time. But that can create a blood clot, can create a pulmonary embolism, it can fracture some ribs and damage your lungs, and it can kill you. I mean, simple and plain, if you don't bind properly, if you bind too tight. Um, so anytime you do get a binder, whether it's an Underworks or even an Under Armour compression shirt, you can also get a rib belt. What I had done before. Um, any like generic drugstore, you can get like a waist belt or a rib belt, and kind of tailor that if you don't want the full from neck to bottom of your waist compression. If you just want your chest compressed, you can get a rib belt, which is used for a lot of abdominal surgeries. um, they kind of just put it around your waist, and it's elastic and velcro, to compress your torso after an operation, to minimize movement. So that also works on your chest. What I had done, I had gotten a rib belt, and it came straight across into my armpit. So I'd cut little channels um, for my armpit so they wouldn't get rubbed raw with the rib belt, and use that for a while as well. And that would work if you're smaller chested, things along that line. Also, a lot of stuff when it comes to binding. A lot of guys have man boobs. So if you're not completely washboard flat, that's okay, because a lot of guys aren't washboard. Even thin guys, if they maybe are a little overweight or they were previously, they have some type of breast tissue. So the best really thing to do when you're binding is to couple the binding along with baggy clothing or layering. If you wear, let's say an undershirt and then a button-down shirt over it, layering is always going to go ahead and make your chest look smaller. You don't want to wear things that are tight. You don't want to wear things that are form-fitting on your chest, because that's going to obviously show that you're binding and there's something under there that shouldn't be. Um, so as long as it's something where, if you do the Underworks binder, make sure if you're a guy my size, you're not getting a medium, because it's going to be too tight and it's going to be ridiculous, and you're going to give yourself a friggin' stroke because you have blood clots from the compression. Also, when binding, don't bind any longer than like 8 hours at a time. Just bind during your school day or your work day, and then come home and take it off. You need to allow your body and your blood to flow freely. For a lot of the time, your blood needs to be able to pump throughout your body, non-constricted, and the binders is going to constrict the blood flow. So that's another important thing when it comes to binding. Just do it safely. Flatter is not always better. You don't even now. I have had surgery, but because I'm a larger guy, I still have man boobs. I went from a J cup to a B cup, because it wouldn't look natural for someone my size, a fat guy, to be totally flat. It looks disproportionate. So even now, I don't bind. The only time I've bound recently, but I had abdominal surgery 2 weeks ago today. And the purpose of my binding has not been for my chest, it's been for my abdomen, to stop any movement because I have 6 incisions in my abdomen. But even now, I have man boobs, little things, and I don't bind. No one looks at me any different, because I'm a big guy and I've got man breasts, and no one looks at me, any weird way. If I do bind, it's because I'm having a dysphoria moment and I feel uncomfortable. But nobody notices either way. No one, ever that I see every day, let's see at work, no one ever says, didn't you have tits yesterday? And I don't, but then you do. Like, no one ever pays attention because it's common for men to have some type of tissue there. So that is my video on binding and techniques. For me, the Underworks 997 worked great. Also, I know for other guys that just have smaller chests, they use things like, they use things like Under Armour compression shirts. You can buy them at Walmart, like a compression tank top that isn't really heavy on compression. The Underworks Model 997 is really hardcore compression. It's double layered and it's really, really tense. So if you're big chest, it's probably going to be what's best. Smaller chested things like a rib belt or an Under Armour type of a compression, like a sports shirt, things along that line. And always layer, layer, layer. Even if it's in the summer and you layer a wife beater, like I'm always wearing in all my videos apparently, you layer a wife beater and then, let's say, a short sleeve button down, just a casual shirt, that layering is still going to go ahead and give you, the cover that you need, and you're not going to be sweating your balls off. So that is my video on binding and the techniques that have worked for me. And I'm sure every guy has a different technique for them that's worked for their anatomy. All of our techniques are as individual as our anatomies are. So of course you're going to hear a lot of great topics and a lot of great different ideas when everyone posts their binding video this week. So that is my story about titty squishing, and I'm sticking to it. Hope this finds everyone well. I'm happy to be back on my normal Tuesdays, and I'm feeling great. So I look forward to posting next week, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Namaste.